Because when you're in the volts mode, it's almost impossible to hurt yourself, the boat, or the meter.
Hello and welcome to another one of our Boat How To Ask the Expert series. I'm Jan.
I'm Nigel CALDER.
And today we want to talk about simple troubleshooting techniques. You've been writing about that quite a bit, but can you explain our audience in few words how you would troubleshoot if something doesn't work in your boat?
I don't know about a few words. So first of all, I always advise people to get a high quality multimeter. I mean, that I think is the single most useful tool on a boat once you know how to use it. And secondly, I advise them to stay in the volts mode. DC volts. We're not going to do AC circuits because they're potentially lethal. But in the DC volts mode, because when you're in the volts mode, it's almost impossible to hurt yourself, the boat, or the meter.
Yeah.
So therefore, you know, somebody that's a novice can start to do some testing and stuff and not worry about doing damage to the boat or themselves. Other than if you poke the, the meter leads into some moving part. Or whatever.
Don't do that.
What is absolutely essential is just to have a basic circuit diagram, whatever the problem is. Sketch the circuit from the battery, through the switches, the fuses, and everything else. Put in the meter anywhere you've got a couple of terminals you can get to, and take a reading. Sketch on the chart where you took the two readings, and write down what the voltage was. Collect a whole bunch of data, and after a while, you can very often just say, hey, wait a minute, that's not the right voltage. And you can fairly rapidly start to narrow down where a problem area is in the circuit. The key things are to have the meter, to stay in the volts mode, to have the circuit diagram, and to have a sense of what voltage you should see at any given point in the circuit. So here's the thing that people have the hardest problem with. If you have a circuit from a battery to a device, a bilge pump, we've got the positive and we've got the negative, and then we have a switch. When the switch is open or a fuse is blown, there's a break in the circuit, the bilge pump looks like a piece of wire to the meter.
So you should read the full voltage.
Negative circuit ends up going all the way around to the break in the circuit. So if your voltmeter suddenly reads 12 volts, between the two meter probes, there's a break in the circuit. The bottom line here is you've got to understand the logic of the circuit and then just collect readings. And then, because if you've got a double fault, it gets much harder. And then you begin to make sense of it. And the other thing that is really, really useful to have, which hardly any cruisers have, which surprises me, is a really long meter lead. And then you can clip one meter lead to the battery positive post, for example, and then you can just go all over the circuit, all the way to the bow of the boat if necessary, collecting readings with the other meter lead. Let's say we start at the battery, and we come here on a fuse and we get 12 volts. We come the other side of the fuse, we get no volts, we know the fuse is blown. We get 12 volts, we know the fuse is okay. We get a switch, same thing, and then all of a sudden we get no volts. We know between where we got that last reading and this one, there's a break in the circuit.
That's very helpful advice, and it was hardly any more than a few words, I would say.
The thing to do is to go to the boat and practice.
Exactly. And if you want to know more about how electrical circuits work in the most simplest form, we actually start with even the very, very simple circuits at our Boat Electrics 101 course. And then we go into how to design a full boat system with all the fancy DC equipment that you get these days, and how to make an appropriate wiring diagram. If some of the stuff that Nigel was talking about was not clear to you, don't worry, because you can actually learn that stuff quite well at our courses. So
you have to try it.
Yeah, and try it. But keep the meter in volts mode, because in AMS mode you can seriously blow the thing up.
Stick it in ohms mode and you blow an internal fuse and you don't know it, and you take a whole bunch of tests that didn't mean anything, and you don't realize it, and then you get really confused.
All right. Well, thanks, Nigel, and see you next time for our next video of Ask the Expert.